And welcome to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. As you can see behind me, I am not in the studio this evening. I'm remote right now at Redwood City, California. Sorry for the orange face and the weird look. I don't know what's going on here. We need my producer to make me look pretty, and we'll do that again next week. Tonight, we got a great show. This is my favorite time of the year. This is my Super Bowl. It is March Madness, the NCAA basketball tournament, and we've got a great panel assimilated here. We're gonna absolutely kill it. We're gonna get picks. We're gonna get our upset picks. We're gonna get everyone's predictions. And let's start it off by introducing my co-host. I call him the captain. He co-captains this ship here. Al Chester, former quarterback, Florida A&M national championship, and also the voice of the Rattlers on football and basketball. Al Chester.
Greetings, Les, from Jacksonville, Florida, my man. I tell you what, I'm just as excited as you are. March Madness is a special time, and I think we're going to have some great basketball these coming days.
I agree, man. We already got some upsets, and it's going to be great. Always, we got Benny the Book in the house for the entire show. He's remote from New York, so we're going to get his expert picks. Benny, thanks for being on tonight.
Great to be here, Les. Hey, Al, how you doing?
My man, how you doing? Benny the Book.
And we've got our special guest back for his second appearance here. We've got ESPN Wilmington's own Randy Slack on Sports, weekdays 1017, 11 to 12, and also the host of Modern Rock 98.7, weekdays 6 through 10. So, Randy, we got Slack on Sports back in the house. We're pumped.
Well, thanks for having me on the show again. I'm glad I didn't mess up too much the first time that you're like, yeah, what the heck? We'll have him on again. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Nah, you're the man. You're a man. You're a man in Wilmington, that's for sure. So, guys, let's get right into it. We've had a couple of play-in games last night. There were two. Wagner got the 16th spot, and Colorado State absolutely put a beating on the ACC's Virginia Cavaliers. So much so that Stephen A. Smith on his show today went out and said Randy Bennett needs to be fired, and here's why. I mean, he just went off on Bennett, and I don't know, guys, did Virginia even deserve a spot in this thing? Randy, did Virginia deserve a spot?
Look, it's so hard to say. I mean, I understand.
You can say it. I can say it.
Well, does it really matter? That's what I say. Like, if you're a team and you're at this point and you're playing in the playing game and you got a double-digit number, you're not. It's not like when Florida State went undefeated in the ACC in football and they got cheated out of not playing, and they should have had an opportunity to play for the national title. These guys at Virginia, or if we're being honest, St. John's or one of these other teams, they weren't going to win it. So I don't really worry too much about it, honestly.
But let me ask you a question. I get what you're saying, that they probably wouldn't have made a run, although they did win it a few years ago in overtime against Texas Tech with a completely different team. But still, you've got a conference like the Big East, okay, that technically was one of the top three conferences all year, and to only get three teams from the Big East is, to me, it's criminal. And they got a 1, a 2, and a 3 seed, which means that's super strength at the top of that conference. I understand the Paul brings it down a little bit, but Patino brought, the Redmen. I know they're the Red Storm, Benny, right? They used to be the Redmen.
Yeah,
back.
Call them the Red Storm.
You had Seton Hall went 13-7 in this conference and beat UConn. Providence, player of the year, and Devin Carter. I mean, the Friars were good. I don't even know if they beat BC last night in the NIT. I really don't know if they did win that one. But guys, really, the Big East, UConn number one, they got snubbed. Come on, they got snubbed. You're going to tell me Michigan State at 19-14 in the Big Northwestern? Really? Yeah. 6 teams in the Mountain West deserved. I like the Mountain West. Underrated conference. 4 teams maybe, but you're going to tell me that Seton Hall or St. John's wouldn't have rode roughshod in that conference? Come on.
Wagner played last night. They only have 7 guys available. They have 7 guys. So they're going to go up. They go up against who do they go? North Carolina. Who do they play now?
Yes. Yeah, they're going to play North Carolina.
North Carolina's going to kill them. They're going to kill them.
And they're going to get busted. Yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Al, did the Big East get a raw deal?
Well, I tell you what, the whole selection process is so subjective, and the Big East is rich in tradition and big-time basketball. So one would feel that way, but I'm like Randy, it's hard really to tell. These games are one and done. It's a new season, and it could go either way. And if you're not locked and loaded, you'll be finding yourself on that pound looking at TV like everybody else.
But Al,
Well, let me ask you a
you
question.
know,
Next week we're gonna have a better explanation as to maybe how the selection process works. We're gonna have on special guest. I'm gonna tease next week's show. CAA Commissioner Mike D'Antonio is going to be grace us next Thursday night, so that should be really special. I got a chance to talk to Joe D'Antonio. I got a chance to talk to Joe this morning, and he was great. And he's, we talked about these playing games for a 10 versus maybe someone who gets a 15 or a 16. And I think he's going to try to explain the process to me. He knows it a lot better than I do when they get in that room and they start doing the selection committee. So, and how they make these picks. So I don't know. I'm just trying to say that
they had
I think
a playing
got to
game.
run, guys.
They had a playing game for 10 with Virginia. Virginia, they lost 6 out of their last 10 games. I think 5 of the games they didn't score more than 46 points. So, I mean, well, how does the committee say that team deserves to play, even a playing game? Well,
Randy, you're really close with the ACC. Obviously, you plugged into North Carolina, NC State, Duke. I mean, you saw Virginia play a lot this year. Benny's right. 3 of the last 6 games, they didn't even score more than 45 points. With a 3-point line, how in the world does that justify them even being selected for the NIT? I mean, let's be serious.
Yeah, it is really tough. And it kind of reminds me, and this is a cross-sport analogy here, but like the Bears traded Justin Fields for basically nothing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Meanwhile, a week ago, they thought he was good enough that maybe they were going to keep him and not draft a QB number 1. They kept him over CJ Stroud or Bryce Young last year. Like, this to me is the same thing with the Big East. When you look at, you've got 3 teams that are ranked fairly high, top 3 seeds. Meanwhile, the rest of the league, how are 3 of the teams so good that they're top 4 line teams? The rest of the league is just garbage. Like that part of it doesn't make sense, because clearly the league's good because 3 of the teams in it were ranked very, very high by this committee. I don't really understand the Virginia pick. And yeah, they play a boring brand of basketball. If we're going to pick teams at the bottom, let's pick teams that are fun at least.
ACC was considered very, very bad. Not a top basketball like they normally are. I mean, Duke, North Carolina is way better than Duke. I think there's a big division in the ACC. It's North Carolina, then Duke's a step below, and then everybody else is a step below that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Well, let's have Tony throw up the brackets, because let's take a look at the brackets right now, and we will go over them. We can start in the East, and we'll let our guests Slack on Sports, Randy Slack, kind of go through the East. And Randy, what do you think? Who do you think is going to come out of the East? What do you think of some of these games that could be pitfalls, maybe potential upsets coming out of the East?
I mean, the 2 interesting teams. Well, let's be honest here. When you're looking at the East, you're looking at UConn. You're looking at the team that I think everybody agrees is the top line team. They're the number 1 team in the country, and I think if you look at the odds makers, Benny the book will know. They're the team that is the favorite to win this thing, as much of a favorite as anybody can be.
Yep.
The trick is when you have teams like Illinois and Iowa State in here, you've got teams that have won big time league tournaments. When you're playing single elimination stuff, and
Auburn.
It will be tough to get. Yeah, it'll be tough to get past an Auburn team. It'll be tough to get past an Illinois or an Iowa State. But I just think when you look at that, it's tough to not pick UConn, as good as everybody else is in that. And I do think that we talk about raw deals. Some of those teams maybe should have been in other parts of the bracket, especially like you look at the Midwest, for example, in my opinion. But I think UConn's the overwhelming favorite in the East bracket.
All right, so you like the Huskies. Let's go to Al. Al, in the East, who do you like? Any potential upsets? And ultimately, who do you like to come out of the East?
Well, I too agree. I think UConn has been the team that's been playing well. They have been the guys who have been starstruck, getting it done week in and week out. They won 31 basketball games. But I think that because it's a single elimination, one and done, that they're going to be upset at some point. I like Illinois coming out of the East. And I think they're the guys who are athletic. They have the size. They got shooters, and they run the floor well.
I like that analysis. Benny, I know, look at you. I see you looking diligently
Yeah.
at your
Well,
board
I-
there. What do you
look
think
at- look
coming
at-
out of the East, Benny?
UConn is the unanimous #1 team, considered the best. They probably are going to have to beat Auburn. I would say is a top 7 team. Then they're going to have to beat Iowa State, they were #6, and that was before they beat Houston. So they're even going to be higher than #6, I think, in the final rankings. They're going to might have to beat FAU, who had a great run last year, or San Diego State, a team that was in the Final Four last year. So just right there, yeah, UConn can lose to one of those 5 teams, like Al said, one and done. But they gotta play most of those teams. Whereas you look at the other brackets, Purdue, who they got to play? They made the bracket for Purdue to get to the Final Four. That's my feeling.
Well, the NCAA didn't do the UConn Huskies any favors. Let's just put it that way. I actually do not have the Huskies coming out of the East. I had them #1 all year long. I definitely think their starting 5 is probably the best starting 5 in college basketball. But to your point, I know, Al, you talked to Illinois. You got Terrence Shannon, who's a tremendous transfer out of Texas Tech, played in the championship game against UVA a few years ago. He's a big-time scorer, and he's going to be in the NBA next year, no doubt about it. I like Iowa State. I think the Big 12 from top to bottom was the best conference here all year long. And I know they've suffered some injuries lately with Kansas. We'll get into that. But, you've got, I think it's Keyshawn Gilbert, who's a really, really good combo guard. He can score the ball. He rebounds. He passes the ball. And the one thing I really like about that team is they can lock you up. They can play man-on-man defense, and they play defense on the perimeter, and they shut down the opposition's three-point ability. They did it against the Cougars. They absolutely decimated the #1 team in the country. When you beat the #1 team by more than 25 points, you're doing something right. So I really think Iowa State is going to come out of the East. The Cyclones, watch, they'll get upset in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, don't talk, because I'm going to bet them.
I do
Les,
like
and you're
Iowa State coming out of the
jinx
East.
me now. You're going to jinx me.
I did. I know I did. I just jinxed them. Well, all right. So let's go from the East to the West. Let's go all the way across the country. I know Randy's really familiar with one of these teams, so let's go to the West. Black on Sports. Let's get your expert analysis on the West region.
Again, I think we're looking at another team with the letters U, the letter N, and the letter C in the name. I think Carolina is really, really good. The things I like about them, they're a been there, done that team. When you look at Armando Bacot, you look at RJ Davis, they've been to the championship game before. They want to get back. They were disappointed with how the season went last year. I think the thing that really sets them apart from a lot of teams is RJ Davis is a guy, when they need a bucket at the end of a game, they've got a guy. There are teams out there that are in this tournament that are going to run plays. There are teams that are going to have good coaching, but a lot of these teams don't have a guy where it's, hey, we need a bucket. We need you to do something to get us a bucket here. RJ Davis is one of those guys. I think he could have like a Kemba Walker type run in this tournament. The biggest problem with them, their guards are small. You're looking my size, 6'1", 6'2". That's, if you're playing bigger teams, that could be an issue, but I really like Carolina. I know, being that we carry the Tar Heels on ESPN Wilmington, that seems like a homer pick, but hey, they're really, really good.
We're going to go to Al. Al, we're going to go to the Rattler, my captain. Okay. I want your expert analysis. Give me the West, baby. Give me the West.
Randy said it all, and I'm right there with him. When you look at R.J. Davis, he's the quarterback of that basketball team. These guys have been there before. They're seasoned vets, if you will, when it comes to tournament play. And I think that the small guard piece is not going to hurt them. They run up and down that court very well, very athletic. And just like you said, he can pull the trigger. The object of the game is to put the ball in the hoop. If you got to put the ball in the hoop more times than your opponent, I think North Carolina is going to be big winners coming out of the West.
All right. So we got 2 for 2 for the Tar Heels. And now let's throw it over to the book. And what does the book say? What does the book say on the UNC?
I got them being upset in the second round by Mississippi State. Mississippi State has they have two really
Whoa.
Mississippi State's got two really good guards. They got really good guards, and Randy's right. You have to guard play and shooting free throws. That's what's going to win it in the tournament. But my pick out of the West is one of the Big 12 teams. I like Baylor. They got two great guards also. They got a couple big men. They played a tough schedule. They played a lot of close games. I think Baylor's going to beat out Arizona and win that conference, win the West. That's who I like.
Well, I mean, Drew's done a tremendous job. He's a great coach. He's a good tournament coach. Gets his team ready to play. A couple years ago, they won the championship. They beat Gonzaga. So not an awful pick, but I got to go with my boy Slack on Sports and the Captain Al, the Rattler Chester. I like the North Carolina. Listen, I am not a North Carolina fan. Let's be honest. I was never a big Dean Smith guy, but I love Hubert Davis. And I love.
On a little note last night, how'd your boys do last night, LSU?
LSU. I don't know.
Played last night,
LSU.
Last night. LSU lost in the NIT.
The NIT?
Yeah, they lost last night.
Listen, we don't. The NIT doesn't exist. Okay, we're talking.
They lost to the green. What are they? The Green Monsters or the Green?
Are you talking about North Texas State, the Mean Green,
North
or
Texas
something?
State. Yeah,
the Mean Green.
Yeah, they destroyed them. They beat them bad. I think.
By the way, Mean Green, known for having Joe Green, Hall of Fame defensive tackle, played with the Pittsburgh Steelers, went to North Texas State.
Nice.
Yeah, with Cedric Hartman as well. But whatever. That's a story
All
for
right.
the day. I like North Carolina too. I'm going with Randy and I'm going with Al. Sorry, Benny. I'm wondering how Mississippi State even got in this thing. They made a late run, 13 losses. Another team that was like, are you kidding me? Like, really? Mississippi State got in there? I know they had a nice little run. I know they got some good guard play. Guess what? They play North Carolina. They're going to get blitzed. It's going to be a Tar Heel blitz. I love RJ Davis.
We'll have a little side bet on that one.
We'll have a little side bet. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I believe RJ Davis can carry North Carolina to the Final Four.
True.
He's that good.
He is that good.
One thing I would like to add here, it seemed like 2 years ago when Coach K was on his retirement tour, it was destiny that Duke and Carolina played in the Final Four for the first time ever in Coach K's last game. This year, something interesting is going to happen, potentially could happen the Elite Eight. We could have Arizona, who had Caleb Love on that team that made it to the final game. Last year, Caleb Love and RJ Davis didn't have the best relationship. Both of those guys are the guys that want the ball in their hand to take that last shot. Those two guys playing against each other in the Elite Eight is really going to be fun. And I think that the basketball gods are going to give us that one, and that's going to be maybe the game of the tournament.
Yeah, Arizona is very talented. They're just like one of those teams you can't figure them out. I mean, if they come to play, they're as good as anybody. They do have they have everything, but they haven't come to play a lot.
So three of us like North Carolina coming out of the West, and Benny likes Baylor, which is not a bad pick. Listen, you can't argue with Baylor. It's the best league. They're battle tested. They're tournament tested. I just don't think this year their 3-point shooting's up to snuff. I like North Carolina. All right, let's cut to the South. Let's go to the South. Everyone check their brackets here. We're going to go with Randy Slack on Sports ESPN. Let's see what Randy has to say about the NCAA South.
I'll tell you this. When it comes to the South region, you guys have been you've been with me with UConn. You've been with me when it comes to Carolina. I don't think anybody's going to be with me on this pick, but there's just so much dang talent. They score a ton of points. They don't play a lot of defense, but I like the high and low and the volatility of the Kentucky Wildcats. I know that's crazy. I know that I'm the only person that's probably going to pick these guys, but dang it, Coach Cal and the Cats are a fun team, and they could potentially put up a bunch of points. And you're going to have to outscore them if you beat them in the tournament, and that's going to be fun to watch.
It's not a crazy pick. I got to be honest. Dillingham's a tremendous player. Shepard's a tremendous player. And Coach Cal knows how to coach, come tournament time. I don't think it's a crazy pick.
They do score a lot of points, but.
Do you agree with Randy, or are you going another direction here in the South?
I'm going a total different direction, man. I tell you what, my keys to victory. You gotta shoot high percentage free throws. You gotta get rebounds on both ends of the court. You gotta shoot high percentage from the field, and you gotta play top shelf defense. And then obviously make minimize your turnovers. Free throws, when they're free, you got to take them, you got to make them. I'm going with Marquette. I think Marquette right now is playing the best basketball. And, because it's one and done. Now, if it was a 2 or 3 game series, that's one thing. It's one and done. Marquette seems to be hungry. I mean, I see the guys feeding themselves. They want some of this. So I'm going with Marquette.
Great choice. But they got a problem. The kid might not play their best player. He didn't play in the Big East tournament any games. They thought as they went further and further, eventually he'd play, but he didn't play it. He didn't play any games. And
that's Tyler Kolek, who was the Big East Player of the Year last year.
Big East Player of the Year. I mean, he's excellent. And without him, when UConn played them, I said that would be the big problem. They're all small and athletic. And UConn just destroyed them inside with their 2 big guys, and I like it. I got them going to the going to the final final 8, losing to beating Marquette, Houston beating Marquette. Those are my last 2 left in that.
Okay, so you like bracket. Houston coming out of the South?
Yes, yeah.
I'm going to echo that sentiment.
They played one bad game. They had one bad game.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think Kelvin Sampson,
talented.
Is going to rally the troops. I think that the Houston loss to Iowa State, I think it's going to be more of a wake-up call for the Cougars. Yep, they're battle-tested, and they've got maybe the best point guard in the country, Jamal Sheard. He's unbelievable. He's a great player, a hard nose. He doesn't turn the ball over, and they turn you over, which I think is what is going to give Houston a run to the Final Four. I don't think they're going to win it, but they're going to get to the Final Four out of the South. And that gives us one more region left. So, Randy, we go to the Mid-East.
Midwest.
Yeah.
Close.
Midwest. I know it's mid something.
Yeah. In the middle of the country. Speaking of
there used to be a Mid-East and a Midwest region way back in the day. There was.
I believe you. I'm not as old as you guys. So I'll
Okay. All right. Let's get your picks.
I'm just kidding. My pick, I'm going with Creighton. I like the Big East. I think the Big East gets 2 teams in the Final Four. I love their coaching. McDermott does great. They run a ton of good sets. They shoot threes really well, and they defend the 3 really well. So if you're playing teams that are going to try to come back on you and you're stopping them, if you're running good sets and you have good coaching, you're tough to play on a short week, on a quick turnover there. The biggest thing the thing that scares me with them is they don't have the RJ Davis type that's a shot creator. They're going to have to rely on, what sets they're coming out of timeouts and things of that nature at times. And that can be a little scary, but I really like how good they are at shooting, and I like how good they are at defending other people shooting at the perimeter.
Well, I'll tell you what, Les, that's a good assessment too.
I don't know. Creighton, I don't know, man. The Blue Jays are good, but I don't know. I think maybe he's taking a flyer on these guys.
Taking a flyer, yeah. A good flyer, though. It's a good flyer.
Hey, it's fun.
Hey, I tell you what.
Al, so who do you got coming out of the? How do you think?
I'm going to stretch. I like Brandon Smith, Lance Jones, and the big guy, Zach Edey, man. I'm going with Purdue. They won 29 games. I mean, they've been kind of up and down, a little shady. If they can stay out of foul trouble, I think they're going to be a force to handle with. The big guy's tough to handle inside. And if he can score 24, 25 points, I think they can win the basketball game.
Well, that's what they thought last year until Philly Ridiculous beat him. I'm sorry, Philly Dickinson beat him in the opening round for only the second time that a 1 beat a 16. So I don't want to get everyone upset at me in New Jersey. I'm kidding. It's Philly Dickinson. I get it. So you like Purdue out of the Midwest. And Benny, who do you like out of the Midwest?
Well, I took Tennessee come out of the Midwest to beat Purdue. I had Creighton playing Tennessee, and Randy's got a good point there. Creighton, Tennessee laid an egg in their tournament. So, but they have a player that could carry them all the way. Connect.
Yeah,
he could carry them. The guys could score 40 points every game if he wants. So, but I took Tennessee over Purdue. But if you look at this bracket, I mean, on the top, you got Purdue. They played a winner of Utah State TCU. Then they got to play the winner of McNeese Kansas, Sanford, they got nobody in. They got nobody in their bracket. It's just like
These teams are going to take
ridiculous.
offense to you saying they got nobody.
They got nobody. They made this bracket so that Purdue could get over that disgraceful loss last year. This
Matt
way,
Painter
they
hopes
make
so,
him
that's for
feel
sure.
better. Believe me, Zach Edey is a force. I mean, he's like a monster in the middle. I mean, he's really nobody
he
can
won't
move
be-
that guy.
Well, I
Once he
just want to
gets
tell you,
planted.
he won't be making waves in the NBA next year. I think he dominates college basketball, but it's a little bit too slow for the NBA. But
True,
um,
probably.
I'm going to say that I actually have to echo your pick, Benny, on Tennessee. I think what happened with Tennessee, everyone was talking about them potentially getting a #1 seed with 2 weeks left in the season.
Right.
They wrapped up the SEC early and kind of had a letdown. They lost a couple of games going down the stretch, even though they had the regular season and the #1 seed locked up in the tournament. So I think they kind of lost intensity and focus a little bit. But to your point, Dalton Connect dropped 39 twice on Auburn and Florida. You dropped 39 points on those two teams.
Yep.
Auburn might be playing the best basketball of anybody coming into this thing. And Florida obviously is an NCAA tournament team. I like the Vols. I think Rick Barnes gets it done. I think he gets to the Final Four this year with his Tennessee Volunteers. So that's who we like on these picks to make it to the Final Four. Now, you know, being the diligent host that I am, I didn't read the actual thing of how we're going to do the show tonight. So I'm asking my producer, Tony, should we go to a break and come back with the surprise picks or our upset picks, or should we just run with that right now?
Let's run with that.
Yeah, run
right
with it.
now.
Yeah, because my
Okay, well,
my
by the way,
battery
everybody,
might go
that's Tony the
dead
Tiger Smeraldi. He's our guy. He's the man who makes the show work. He's the glue that puts this thing and keeps it together. So, all right, guys, there's always upsets. We talk about it every year. That's what makes the tournament so much fun, right? A once never beat a 16 until a couple years ago when UMBC pulled a shocker and beat shocker Virginia with no offense. And then last year, Philly Dickinson does it to the #1 seed Purdue. So we're going to go through this thing. I want to get Randy's upset picks, what he thinks might happen. Let's get his upset picks and also potential upsets too that could, that could cause some of these top seeds to maybe go down and falter.
Okay, well, my picks, the first one, I feel like, we've talked earlier about the tournament committee and how some teams got left out. I wonder how much the committee should have considered injuries when it comes to a team like Kansas. When you think about how many guys they were missing in the tournament, how bad they looked against Cincinnati in the Big 12 tournament, and now they're playing a Sanford team, a team that can score, and they don't have all their firepower. Sanford does. And I feel like that's to me a safe upset pick. Kansas still has a lot of talented guys, but I think just being as shorthanded as they are right now, it's really tough and unfortunate that they're a 4. I think maybe the committee should have put them a little bit lower. Since we're talking about the weakness of the ACC, I think New Mexico, a team that's got some good shooters, got some good guards. I think they get that win against Clemson. And then lastly, I don't know what it was. I saw so much talk on the internet, and so many people were saying, "Oh man, UAB over San Diego State, UAB over San Diego State." Like it's a done deal. Kind of like how I'm saying about Stanford against Clemson, or against Kansas. I just feel like San Diego State's not getting nearly enough credit. And even though they're the top seed, so many people are on this UAB bandwagon. No offense to the Blazers, but the Aztecs over at San Diego State, they play in a tough conference. They made it to all the way last year.
Yeah.
They're a really, really good team. And I think if you're thinking, oh, this is a mid-major as a 5, that should be an upset pick. And that's the wrong one, buddy.
Well, I was going to say Jim Dutcher's done an amazing job with the Aztecs. People don't remember him. He was the assistant coach in Michigan, the Fab Five. He was one of the guys who helped recruit that Fab Five team under Fisher. So he's done a great job resurrecting the Aztecs program. And to your point, Randy, I think San Diego State plays in a battle-tested league. The Mountain West is known as being maybe an underrated league that got 6 teams in this year.
Yeah.
And I can see San Diego State making another mini run this year. I don't think they'll get to the Final Four championship game, but I do like the Aztecs to win at least 1 or 2 and get the Sweet 16. I do like that. All right, so you got those upset picks. What about Al? Come on, give me a couple upset picks. You're the resident guy. You're the quarterback. Steer us in the right way.
Well, I tell you what, I'm I'm leaning on a lot of emotion because when I see teams that can win 30 games, I mean, you win 30 basketball games in a season, lose 3, I think you're doing something right. And I like McNeese State to upset Gonzaga. And I think those guys are a little hungry. I think they want it bad. Same thing with James Madison. They won 31 games. I think they're going to give Wisconsin a handful. They've got athletes and they got shooters. You know, the object of the game, I said it earlier, is get that ball in the hoop and to play good defense. And I think that Madison and McNeese can do it. Also, I like Samford to beat Kansas. We already talked about them. I think that they too won 29 games and lost 5, but I think they're all peaking at the right time. And with it being one and done, it's a brand new season. Anything can happen. And those are my 3 upsets: McNeese, James Madison, and Samford.
Well, I know Randy likes 2 of those 3, and let's go to the book. Come on, you got some inside information for us, Benny? Any upset picks? Come on.
Yeah, I agree with Randy on the New Mexico. I think they're gonna blow by Clemson, and I agree with Al with JMU. Man, it's that university had a great year. Their football team was great. Their basketball team is great. So I think they're gonna beat that Big Ten team, Wisconsin. They play they're very smart team. They play good, but I think JMU is going to make a little bit of run in here. And my third upset is Charleston over Alabama. I think Alabama's hasn't been playing so well, and this could be one of those things where they might be looking by Charleston. And I like that team. They shoot threes very well, and that's my third upset pick.
Well, Commissioner D'Antonio's hoping so. I spoke with him, like I said, today. He was out in Spokane, Washington, following the team. And he said, Les, I'm on next week, with the only caveat being, if Charleston makes a run, I'm going to have to push it back. And I go, well, let's hope we have to reschedule you and Charleston makes a run. So I'd love to see Charleston. He was telling me that the league, CAA, hasn't won a conference tournament game in 11 years. So maybe they're due. Maybe Charleston's due to make a run to the Sweet 16, which would be outstanding and very exciting for us. When we bring on Commissioner D'Antonio to talk about it. I got similar picks, and I got one upset. I got one that you guys haven't talked about, and this one's going to shock Randy, because Randy's going to look at me like I got 4 heads, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. But again, like you guys, I like McNeese State to beat number 5 Gonzaga. I think this year the Zags didn't even win their conference, tournament. There's one for you, Randy. Here's a question for you. You got Gonzaga got a 5 seed. St. Mary's got a 5 seed. Yet St. Mary's won the conference outright, won the conference championship, and beat Gonzaga twice this year. How in the world does the committee tell me that they both are a 5?
Hey, I don't get paid any big bucks, so I don't know. Apparently, Benny had some information because he went dark on us. So maybe he's the one you need to ask on.
He just went out to the ATM to bet more money. But I just think it's kind of strange that, Gonzaga got a 5. And I really like McNeese State. Coach Will Wade, who was taking teams from Tennessee Chattanooga and Virginia Commonwealth to the tournament before. He went to LSU. That was a big, get by LSU, and unfortunately left in disgrace. They had some major recruiting violations. So he was forced to resign at LSU, but he's turned it around pretty quick in the Southland Conference for the Cowboys. And I like him. Watch out for Shahada Wells, 17 points a game guard, and Christian Shoemate, also a really good player. I like James Madison over Wisconsin. Mike Byington doing a great job. Coach of the year. He's up for Coach of the Year this year. TJ Bickerstaff, 6'9" forward, transfer from Boston College. Tremendous player, inside-out player. Also Terrence Edwards, a 6'6" combo forward guard. He's got NBA potential, very athletic. I really like James Madison to win the game, and I don't think it's going to be that close. I think JMU pulls away at the end and wins this thing by 8, 9, or even double digits. And here's my big upset pick. And I think Randy's going to be looking at me cross-eyed here. I like the Akron Zips out of the MAC to knock off the 3rd-seeded Creighton Blue Jays. You got it. I'm telling you, Creighton's ripe for the pickings. Coach John Groce, former coach of the Illini, took them to the tournament, and he made a similar run in 2012 with his Ohio University Bobcats. They went to the Sweet 16 before they lost to Carolina. Enrique Freeman, a player that a lot of people don't know, NBA potential. He'll be in the NBA next year. 18 points a game, a 6'7" forward, and Ali is a point guard as well. He's got 15 a game. I really like that talent, and I really, really like Akron to pull the opposite. The MAC always seems to do something special. They either upset somebody or they make a run to the Sweet 16. So I really like Akron in this game. So I think we're on board with that.
It is interesting looking at Akron, just kind of reading their rundown here a little bit. They they're a bad matchup for Creighton in the fact that Creighton likes to shoot threes and Akron's really good at defending the threes. Also, Creighton's really good at defending the three-point shot. Akron doesn't make any. So for them, it's like, oh, you stop. Like, it'd be like if you play a team that runs the ball all the time and your secondary is the best cover corners in the world. It's like, who cares? We're never throwing the ball, so it doesn't really matter. So it is kind of a weird matchup for Creighton in that sense. But yeah, so I don't want that to happen, but I mean, you make a logical choice.
Yeah, I just think they're going to bust a lot of brackets this year. I really like the Zips. You know, they played Kent State in the MAC final. Kent State was a surprise team making a run, but they took care of business, and I really like the team. Again, Al, to echo your sentiments based on what you need in this tournament. You need to hit free throws, right? Under 3 minutes to go, when the team gets you on the line, they are called free throws. No one's blocking you. No one's obstructing you. You got to make it. Number two, got to play really good defense, and you've got to do it. What got you there? Some teams are a three-point shooting team. You got to make them. Some teams bang on the inside or maybe better defensively. And most importantly, I think, guys, and I think this is what really constitutes an upset, is when a team is favored and they get inside of 5 minutes and they have an 8 or a double-digit lead, they somehow play not to lose. They kind of lose focus of what they've done the entire game, and all of a sudden they start milking the clock, and then they throw up a wild shot with a couple seconds left. You do that on a couple of occasions, 2 3-pointers in a row, that 10-point lead is now down to 4 points, and it's anybody's ball game. And I think you'll see that in this tournament a few times. I really do. I want to get your take on both you guys on Texas Tech. That's a team that is very interesting. I think they could make a little bit of a run here. I don't know who they're opening up with, but I really think the Red Raiders could make a little bit of, they could make some noise in their region. You think they got a shot to maybe make it to the Sweet 16?
They won 23 games. They won 23 games this year. I mean, they played some decent basketball. And when you got a tournament situation like this, is one and done like this, anything can happen, Les. And who's going to be hungry? Who's going to make those free throws? Who's going to get the rebounds on the offensive end of the court to get that second shot, that second and potential third shot? You got to have that. So I mean, the Red Raiders from Texas Tech are some ballers now. You got to watch them.
Yeah, I think so. Randy, McGuire's done a nice job over there. They lost. I know their head coach a couple of years ago who got him to the championship game against Virginia, and then he went to Texas, and then there was some kind of crazy thing that happened there. He got booted out of Texas. Do you think that the Red Raiders can? I know what happened. I just don't want to publicize it. But do you think the Red Raiders can make any kind of a move here and maybe get to the Sweet 16?
I mean, the thing with them, and you see this with teams, it's similar to kind of Virginia, when you have teams that don't score a ton of points. Maybe you're efficient, you get good shots, but you take your time. The problem with that can be if you're in a close game against somebody or you're down by a few possessions and you don't know really how to hurry up. And it's hard for you to really get that big lead on another team, especially early on. I think one thing that's interesting with the NCAA tournament, you're playing on neutral sites for most of the time, except if you're a higher seed and it's a close game. Because now all the people that are at that same venue that aren't watching your team, that aren't rooting for your team, now they're like, oh, hey, that double-digit seed could potentially win this game, and we're all rooting for the upset. So now all of a sudden you went from playing in a game where it's a neutral site to everybody in the gym's against you. You're playing a team that's a lower seed, and you're like, oh my gosh, we can't lose. And then here you are, the whole crowd is wanting you to lose. Like, that is a weird dynamic that first weekend in the NCAA tournament.
Well, we're going to go to our first break. And Randy, we're bringing you back because unfortunately you are now going to have to pinch hit because Benny evidently got held up at the ATM machine. I don't know what happened. I have no idea where the book is. The book just expired. It's on fire. The library's on fire. I don't know what happened to the book, but we're going to come back with more of Randy Slack on Sports, ESPN, and Al Chester after this.
Forever 24 Fit, Leland's only gym with 24-hour access. Get fit when it's convenient, utilizing Life Fitness, cardio, and weight machines. And for those of you who prefer free weights, there is a free weight area as well. Start your membership today and get on your way to a better you. Six Happiness. Enjoy fresh Asian cuisine in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere where we believe good times deserve great food. Featuring the best sushi chefs in the Leland area. So come on in and we guarantee you will be delighted.
It's March Madness time. We've got on the house, we've got Randy Slack on Sports, ESPN 1017, every day 11 to 12, and also the host of Modern Rock 98.7, weekdays 6 to 10, and Al the Rattler Chester, my co-captain, Florida A&M national championship quarterback and voice of the Rattlers basketball and football broadcast. Guys, we found out what happened to the book. He didn't get hijacked going to the ATM. He forgot his battery charger in North Carolina. He's in New York. So it looks like Benny is out for the rest of the show.
Been in the book, out of gas.
Out of gas. He ran out of gas.
Needs to be Benny the battery. He don't have it.
Benny the battery. Yeah, he's certainly not the Energizer. That's all we can say here. But he's never ready. Not ever ready. He's never ready. But so, Randy, you're going to hopefully fill in for this just next segment real quick. We're not going to go crazy here. But Al brought up something interesting. And he said, what about women's basketball? And I haven't really given it a lot of thought. We don't have the brackets for the women's. But, you know, to Al's point, the women's game has really gained a lot of traction and a lot of viewers with obviously the explosion of Caitlin Clark and what she's done. Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks, who were just running roughshod the last few years, and the emergence of Juju Watkins out at USC, who just broke Caitlin Clark's freshman scoring record. And she's a tremendous player. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the women's game. And I don't know all the teams. I don't know all the seedings. I know the bigger teams, but Brady, let's start with you. You know, do you think South Carolina just goes unimpeded and wins another national championship? I know they lost to LSU last year. Do they rebound and make it back this year?
They're a very good team. Obviously, I think they're the UConn of the women's basketball game. And the thing that I see with the women's bracket is I believe if Iowa makes it to the Final Four, which I think is a reality for that team, I think if Iowa gets there with South Carolina, teams like that, they could have better ratings for the women's Final Four than potentially for the men's Final Four. I think that's a real possibility with just how much star power they're starting to get in the women's game.
Yeah, you know something, Al, what do you make of that? Because I think what Randy just said is, I think could really happen if Caitlin Clark plays up against maybe a South Carolina or Juju Watkins, and you have that type of like a matchup. Do you think that they could draw those kind of ratings?
I'm going to tell you, I think Randy's dead on the money. And I was talking to a bunch of guys the other day, and they don't know much about the men's basketball in terms of who the players are, but they know all about the ladies. You know, you look at South Carolina, they got a young freshman there who plays like Magic Johnson at point guard. Of course, Stanford has Cameron Brick. She's one of their highlight players. Everybody knows about Caitlin Clark at Iowa. And Juju Watkins, I mean, she's lighting it up on the West Coast. I say the left coast. And then you got to look at LSU, you know, and then and UConn. I mean, they to me are the top 6 ladies basketball teams in the country, but the way they've been playing and all the star power, I like that word, that that's centered around their game this year for sure. In the last couple of years, to be honest, has been on the money. And I think that you lock up any of those 6 teams right there against each other, you're going to have the viewership is going to be much higher, I think, than what you're going to see with the men's basketball.
Yeah, I kind of like both of what you guys had to say regarding this. I think that Caitlin Clark's emergence, I mean, the last couple of years, it's just, she's almost much watched television. People like to just see her throw them up from 40 feet. She's they call her the female Steph Curry. She's not like, I'm not going to say she's not athletic. She's not freaky athletic, but athletic enough to get open and off the dribble. She's money. I mean, she's tremendous. I really like South Carolina. I think Dawn Staley is now, she is now what Gino Auriemma was for all those years. When he was from 1996 through 2016, they had like I think they won over 88 games, 90 games in a row or something at one point. They had the players of the year, the recruiting. UConn always got the best players. They still have good players. Paige Bucher, who was, player of the year, they still have her, but it looks like Dawn Staley in South Carolina has taken this thing over. And I really think South Carolina's on a mission. They got upset last year. They just beat LSU over a week ago in the battle of probably two of the three best teams. Stanford's good, Al, and boy, you're throwing your thing out there. I like Frank. Virginia Tech's got Elizabeth Kitley, a 6'6" center. She's really good. They got a good team. They'll make some noise, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's the Lady Gamecocks that cut down the nets and win the thing in the women's championship. I really like South Carolina with Dawn Staley. We're going to try to get Dawn Staley on the show. I don't know if she'll come on, but we'll do our best to get her.
Well, Les, what I like to do, man, is throw a shout out to the HBCU representatives who were fortunate enough to get a bid to the playoffs. I mean, in the men's, Howard lost last night, obviously. They represented the MEAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And, of course, the women from MEAC is Norfolk State. They'll be playing here in the coming days. And then the men are Grambling is playing right now while we're having this show. And then, of course, Jackson State women, who I think are ballers, they could make a run in this thing, man, if you're not careful. But they've got the coach of the year and the defensive player of the year, Jackson State. Florida A&M had the offensive player of the year, but they played some great basketball in Black College this year.
Man, Randy Al's doing his homework. He's throwing names out here like Stanford basketball. Man, I'm just like, I'm amazed. This is why he's the captain. He co-pilots this shit, man.
Killing it. I do want to give a shout out when we're talking, on the women's side. I was trying to figure out what seed they were. I couldn't remember. NC State, they're a 3 seed in the tournament, and one of their best players is Sanaya Rivers. Her freshman year, she played on that South Carolina national championship team. She's from Wilmington, North Carolina. She's a multiple Gatorade player of the year. She's averaging 12 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.5 steals, a block a game. She is an absolute box scorer, just fill her up, and really talented junior girl. Came out of the Wilmington area. And if a North Carolina team is going to make a run, it could very well be NC State and led by a local Wilmington product.
Where are they seated, Randy? NC State in the
They're
leagues?
a 3 seed.
They're a 3 seed. Okay, so they're fairly high. So I mean, wouldn't be a shocker if they made a little bit of run. And it would be great.
27-6.
Yeah, no, it would be great to have some little local flavor from Wilmington doing something there. That would be great. We'll have to continue to watch her. Now, guys, we went for the women's. Let's just go back to the men real quick because that's what's driving this show tonight. But any players in this thing? I know we've mentioned some things. I know RJ Davis, has been mentioned. We've mentioned Zach Edey and things like that. Any players off the top of your heads, or maybe that for the people out there, the viewers that maybe can watch and check out and maybe can kind of give their team a push, maybe get their team in a run. Because, in the NCAA tournament, it is one and done, but it's pretty short. It's 3 or 4 games. You make it to the final. Maybe you get hot. Maybe you got one guy that can pretty much carry a team, like a Caleb Love at Arizona, for instance, or Dillingham, the kid at Kentucky. Anybody like that come to mind that could maybe carry a team to a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8?
I think a guy at Illinois, Terrence Shannon Jr., first team All Big Ten, a guy who can absolutely put the ball in the hole and really a dynamic player on a really solid team, and a team that could make some noise, for looking at not a number 1 seed team to make a deep run and potentially an Elite 8 Final Four type team.
I like that name. Yeah, I like that name too. Terrence Shannon with Illinois. How about Osa with Marquette? He's a guy that's quietly getting it done, effective. I can't think of his first name, Les, but Osa.
Is he the big guy in the middle?
He's a big guy in the middle.
Okay. Because from Marquette
And they
as
got
well.
Cam Jones. They got Cam Jones as well. I mean, that combo, the Batman and Robin, if you will, could be a gnat in somebody's ear the entire time.
Well, I was going to say now, Randy, I know you like New Mexico. You do. You like the Lobos, coached by
Yes.
Rick Pitino Jr., Richard Pitino, he likes to be called. They've got a couple players to watch out for. You got Jalen House, a 6'1" point guard, and Jamal Mashburn. I know you know that name, Al. Jamal Mashburn. His son is a guard on that team. Colorado State, you saw last night, Isaiah Stevens running the point for the Rams and that destruction over Virginia. We talked about, I think, Dalton Connect, a guy that was upper player of the year, dropped 39 at a couple of occasions this year. He can erupt at any time. I really like a guy by the name of, and I like this upset, guys. I like Utah State. Watch out for the Aggies and a transfer from England by the name of Great Osabor. He's a 6'8", 250-pound beast. He's averaged 18 points and 9.5 boards a game. I don't know if he's NBA ready yet. I don't know how athletic he is, but he's a wide body. You cannot move this guy off the blocks. He's strong. He reminds me of Wes Unseld. If anybody remembers who Wes Unseld
I remember Wes Unseld. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he have a big bottom? Is a big bottom like Wes? From the waist down, Wes was like tree trunk, man.
Exactly. You could not move that guy.
No, man.
I was hoping Benny was going to be here, but again, the ever-ready battery ran out on Benny. So while we're here, we're going to go to the break. We're going to go to the wrap after this, and we're going to say thank you to our special guest, Randy Slack on Sports ESPN 1017. I'm getting pretty good at that, actually.
Yes.
But I want to get your takes on it. Let's go out on a limb, guys. Let's get your champions. I know it's early and other upsets, things are going to happen, but as of right now, everyone's filling out a complete bracket. So I want to hear, Randy, who's going to win this thing and why? Who's going to ultimately win it and why?
Again, it's been a common theme tonight, but they're the best team top to bottom. They're a team that can beat you a lot of different ways. I can't look at it and go, "Whoa!" But they won last year, so it's so hard. Nobody repeats. The NCAA tournament, we never saw a 16 beat a 1, and then it's happened twice in the last 5 years. Things happen, and every year's a different year. And I do think that UConn is just the best team this year. The Big East is one of the best conferences, and I think that they're going to get it done. It's not a wow hot take pick, but I think it's the right pick.
We got a repeat, Danny Hurley and boys cutting down the nets. Something, you can't argue with that pick, even though I have Iowa State coming out of, the East. You can't argue with UConn. I mean, I think that if UConn plays up the capabilities, I think, it's not a stretch to say that they're going to beat everybody and they're going to go all the way. I don't know. I just have this feeling that Iowa State's going to go on a crazy run. That's why I'm picking them. But I like the pick. Al, who's going to cut down the nets in a couple of weeks?
Well, I like UConn as well. I think UConn, though, can easily get caught up in the moment because they've been beating everybody, all season. I mean, they're a great basketball team. I think they're going to have a letdown, though. And I'm going with Purdue. I'm going with Edey to have a super tournament. And those guys shoot the ball well. He plays well inside, the rebounds, block shots. I'm going with Purdue. We're currently 29-4 to win it all.
All right. So we get UConn and we get Purdue, and that means I've got to make my pick. Well, let's see. I'm going to take, since it's the West bracket, my hometown University of North Carolina Tar Heels. I'm not a huge Tar Heel crazy person, but I got to say, I love the experience that they have. I love RJ Davis. I know they're small. I do know they're small, Randy, in the backcourt, and some might have some matchup problems down there, but they're quick. They might be small, but they're quick, and they don't turn the ball over a tremendous amount. He's got a disciplined team, Hubert Davis. They can hit threes. They can play inside. They can play outside. They're a very versatile team. I just like Hubert Davis, his coaching ability in close games. I think he's proven he can do it. He's done it, and I like the Tar Heels to cut down the nets in a few weeks. I really like North Carolina. Benny would have picked Baylor, or Benny would have picked McNeese State. Didn't he say McNeese State was going to go on a crazy run?
He loves McNeese State.
Yeah.
He loves the Cowboys, so those were upset picks again. Again, Randy, he's got the UConn Huskies. Al, he's got the Purdue Boilermakers, and I have the North Carolina Tar Heels. So I want to thank everyone out there. We didn't have any questions tonight. I don't know if people are really into March Madness or they don't even figure it starts tomorrow. Come on, guys, wake up. Come on, wake up. We got to watch some games here. But I want to thank Randy Slack on Sports, ESPN Wilmington, 1017, weekdays 11 to 12, and also host of Modern Rock 98.7, 6 to 10. Randy, it's been awesome. Again, thanks for having me on your show earlier today. I love coming on, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, Al. If I could real quick, get a plug in real fast, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
This weekend, Saturday night, if you're in the Wilmington area at Hoggard High School, it's the Carolinas Classic All-Star Game. It's the best of North Carolina versus the best of South Carolina. The girls' game's first, and then the boys' game. The talent they have a young man, Isaiah Evans. He's going to commit to Duke. He's a North Carolina kid. He's playing. They have another guy. I'm slipping on his name right now, but this year he set the record for most points in a single game. He had a 72-point game this year. Ooh. He had another game where he went for 50 and 20. He's insane. Another guy in the tournament, or going to be in the All-Star game, a guy named Juke Harris. He is the highest rated recruit Wake Forest has ever had since Tim Duncan. He's in the game. There are a ton of high-quality girls and boys basketball players, and all the money for the tickets and everything, this is put on by House of Rayford Farms Flock. All the money benefits Access of Wilmington. Access of Wilmington, they do the Miracle League. They help special needs kids as well as veterans that want to continue and do athletics and have a chance to, belong, because every kid should have a chance to play baseball or basketball. In fact, while these athletes are in town, some of them are going to be playing some wheelchair basketball with some of these kids. It's a great community event. It's a wonderful time. And again, you're seeing dudes and ladies that are going to eventually be in the NBA, the WNBA, and playing potentially in next year's tournament.
Now, Randy, thanks for that, because it's very interesting, especially being in the Wilmington area. Can you stream this at all?
I'm not sure if you can stream it, but I know if you go to carolinasclassic.net, that's the website for it. If you want to get tickets or want to get more information and kind of see the rosters. But yeah, this is, I believe, the 25th year they've done it. I don't know if they've always done it in Wilmington, but it's been in Wilmington since I've been here. And it really is truly a great event. They bring the kids in on Thursday. They do some practices. Friday, they go to a bunch of elementary schools. It's not just them being all-stars. It's them also, using what the gifts they've been given and kind of giving back to that next generation of kids. It's a really, really cool thing that they put on. Shout out to Tom Ticci and the people over at House Rayford Farms Flock.
Well, if you're in the Wilmington area, check it out. I wish we had this earlier. I would have, we would have had Tony put up like maybe a link to this.
He's got the website up there.
Look at this. Do we not have the best producer in the business?
You really
Tony is the Wizard of Oz behind the scene, man. He's the wizard behind the scenes.
Al, Tony is as quick as you were running in your days at A&M. That's what I'm going to tell you. CarolinaClassic.net. Check it out. Again, thank you to our special guest, Randy Slack on Sports, ESPN Wilmington 1017, weekdays 11 to 12, and the Rattler Al Chester, Florida A&M, voice basketball and football. Al, we'll see you next week. Randy, we're definitely going to keep in touch, and let's see exactly how we do here. And, obviously Joe D'Antonio next week. That's going to be a great show. Who knows? We might have to have Randy back to do a little CAA recap. So, guys, enjoy the tournament. Good luck to everybody out there. And we'll be back with the wrap after this.
High Tide Chiropractic, located in Leland, North Carolina, off Village Road. Dr. Levi Bradburn and his team specialize not only on spinal and extremities care, but also focus on sports injuries and a variety of chronic ailments. Treatment plans may include diet and lifestyle behavioral modification to achieve optimal health. Call us to schedule your free consultation, and we will design a personalized program to meet your needs. It's time to get the results you deserve.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Been a great show. It's my favorite time of the year. The NCAA basketball tournament, March Madness. I love it. A very special thanks again to Randy Slack on Sports, ESPN Wilmington, 1017, 11 to 12. If you haven't heard the show in your local, check it out. It's an awesome show. He does an amazing job. Again, Benny, we don't know what happened. Benny ran out to the ATM. He forgot his battery. I don't know what happened. His computer went dead. We'll find out next week who Benny picked. And again, a special thanks to my producer, Tony the Tiger Smeraldi, putting this show together. I'm remote in California. It's not the easiest thing to do. We couldn't even bring in Joni, our amazing chat girl, for this show, but we had no questions. So it didn't matter at this point. But again, for everyone here at Swartz Talkin Sports, have a great week. Enjoy the tournament. And we'll see you next Thursday with special guest CAA Commissioner Joe D'Antonio. Take care, everyone.